But then I went to visit my daughter in Germany when she was 10. I ran over the border. I see 100 kilometers before I expected. I'm running out of electricity. So he was like, okay, let me stop at a nearby gas station. There is only one plug and that's taken. How long is it going to be taken? For another 2 hours. Okay, I drive another half an hour and then I'm really done. You know what he says? I stopped there. Still not spot. I just called dealership and told them, your car is there. I'm done. Because it was still in this trial period.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one attempt.
Move the car somewhere else and run a cable out of a bedroom or something.
It's fine.
I mean,
I
think it's fine for now.
Yeah.
If we continue with the workshop,
Yes.
then we will
If
all
we
be
could
able to
continue,
reach you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do story time later.
Okay, so
Okay,
we've
so-
decided it's out.
No, with
Post
workshops.
conference.
Just a second. For workshops, you cannot do post conference. I did in Chengdu workshop, so they have really tight timeline, and that's also a little bit later than regular papers. It's not really much later. It's not really that you can do it after the conference.
But I guess if you do separate proceedings, it could
It's a
be
separate
negotiated.
proceeding,
I understand you can't do it because there is one volume of workshop proceedings.
Yes.
But no, there's not. Every workshop has
It's
individual
separate
proceedings.
one.
Yes,
okay.
So
individual.
that gives us the opportunity for a hackathon cannot be written. The paper cannot be written till after the hackathon.
Yeah.
Explain it to the name I don't want to
April.
mention. You know the
Yes. No.
the lady that sends emails.
Yeah, but this is fine. This is a very.
I just didn't want to say the name.
Klaus, you've agreed to do that.
This is a look, but this is
You
a
are
very
gonna be
solvable
communicating
problem.
with
This
her,
is
right?
essentially just get order another set of proceedings with ACM Publishing.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
If SIGMM says no, look, there's another event that has proceedings a month later, then there's going to be another event that has proceedings a month later. And ACM Publishing, whatever, will charge SIGMM something for that. But SIGMM wanted the hackathon, so
Yes, right.
But let's check it if it's possible.
It's possible.
we'll just tell them that this is
Did you ever do it?
what needs to happen,
No.
and then it will happen somehow.
I've also never did it because I know we were breaking spine once with Miriam Reddy. I remember in Brisbane, really to get a paper some time, and it was pretty much like regular proceedings. And also last time I did it for Chengdu, it was also, you know.
Yes, but
Yeah.
they're usually
probably-
only very specific about their dates, because they say, okay, no, the thing needs to be published at that point in time. Therefore, you need to
We
send
will-
it in time.
We
We
will
say,
talk
yeah,
about
this is
giving them
published
the
whenever.
dates, and we'll give them a third set of dates for the hackathon publication.
Oh,
And
if
that's
you
it.
think it's possible.
Yeah,
I
with
believe it's
a
possible.
targeted publication date of end of the year or something.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
then
It's just impossible to do it any other way. Right? So unless you run the hackathon 2 months early, it just doesn't make
that's
sense.
not
No,
happening.
yes, doesn't make sense.
Now, we're gonna have my understanding is we're gonna have a call for hackathon topics
Yes.
that are at least somewhat health related. Some of them.
Well, yeah, what we said before was to say it should be data exploration and or data augmentation based on this data set, and then if you want to slant it towards the health thing, in addition to that, fair enough. And this was just going to be the criteria by which this is going to be judged.
Because that's what came out of that workshop.
Yeah, but we can
Based.
put that into the call as
Yeah.
an example and say.
Right.
What happens if nobody comes up with a health-based idea? Then we've just done the hackathon as per SIGMM's request.
Yes.
The very senior people in the field said, let's do a health-based hackathon.
No, it
Oh, look, we're doing one on tracking
it
of
has to
expressions
be-
on faces.
No,
It
yes.
has to be. We just say
You cannot
Look,
control what
if-
people
if-
want to work
if
on.
people are interested in doing other things with a data set, let people also do other things with a data
But
set.
then should we not
But there's-
have ourselves?
I mean, then no, then
The
you.
thing is,
Yeah.
how many people have been at this seniors? I've not been invited. I wouldn't know, right?
About
No.
20.
So,
So
how?
one of these 20 people are then supposed to propose a cut.
Yeah, exactly. So now we
I
basically.
understand that they're all busy, but one of them.
Well, basically, now you should send back mail to them and say, now we have made this. Now it's your turn to actually assemble a group to work on something, right?
Okay.
So it's their responsibility that something
And I
happens.
mean, even most of these people are very senior. They probably have research groups with lots of people.
Precisely.
So they can just go to their group and say, you five, you go to the hackathon and work on this. Right?
Precisely.
So the catch is, I like that one, and I think it would be, so how the city of Amsterdam did it, and I think those are really nice hackathons. There is not a fate, but a clear need. We have these panoramas, and we use them to monitor problems in a public space, crowdiness, this and that, state of the assets, but it kind of helps if there are more users, if more departments commit to making something useful out of it. So basically, there is some coordination going on. Chief Technology Office approached them, and people are really interested, genuinely. I have this process, and if I can cut 2 million per year, that's amazing, So they come there and they think, look, it doesn't have to, it can be vague, I said it already, like advertisement, public advertisement is just Wild West, so can we get it from panoramas, if that panorama is recorded a few times per month, we can. So do something with that. You don't have to be.
Yeah, but I guess it's a difference in terms of the motivation. If you work with your own data or data from your own organization, or you do something on another data set. So I think here it's probably we're more targeting the research community with this call than a company saying, oh yeah, this is a kind of a proxy of the problem we are interested in, because then why wouldn't they provide their own data and do a challenge on that?
So what I wanted to say is then they did have clear interest, it seemed, at AC Multimedia, kind of to come up with a few very signature use cases, test beds and so on. And this is one of them, basically. So we could ask, because they had clear ideas about his agents, for example.
Right. Yeah.
Healthcare. Yes, that's what I said.
Yes.
They have vested interest because that was the part of that.
Yeah, but there's also research. I think you can't compare it with your example of the end users bringing in interest or someone in the research community be interested. But anyway, they can bring the topic.
Yes, so now we did the work, we will facilitate this, and then we play the ball back to them and say, look, if you want concrete topics around this area, then you go and make it happen. We set we gave you the data, we gave you the framework, we gave you the location, we even ordered the catering, right? And you just show up and make it happen. Or send your people if you don't show up yourself, right?
I was more thinking like, how often are those steering type of meetings?
I'm guessing annually, because this is the first time this particular meeting has happened.
No, but last year, that was not happening before.
It's not a steering committee meeting.
So I was just like thinking, okay, maybe, let's see. But I think people may be interested in a kind of chipping in with some ideas.
Okay, so
let's see how many topics we get.
what happens?
I mean, what you can still do, you can see that there's few submissions or there's no topics covered. Directly approach some people and say that you want to propose a topic for this.
Are you making more tea?
Yes.
Good.
Garbage detection.
Yeah.
I mean, there's lots of
We worked very hard to
Ali, you wanna
for you.
switch?
I'll plug it in somewhere else.
You wanna switch?
Garbage detection.
Switch?
Yes.
Yeah.
If you're cold?
I'm not cold, but if you want to switch, I can.
No, I'm not just. It's because you were looking like you were cold.
No, I'm not
If
cold.
somebody gives me their bedroom,
You will drive your car into it, and charging will also be faster if it's warm, right? So.
bedroom, I'm gonna go and sleep there.
I just want to hang the wire out the window.
You can put it in my bedroom, no problem. It's the one at the
I
end.
already hate
Yeah, you
this
can
sustainability.
use mine. Mine is just in front of the
Okay, fine.
cupboard.
I'll move the car, then everybody's going to be warm, right?
No, not now.
Wash up first.
Yes.
We are not
Going to finish this,
No
otherwise
finish
this is not going to.
You know what's
You're
bizarre?
staying here.
You know what's bizarre? We are now helping the planet by charging this with electricity, but we are also cooling the home, so the heating is working harder. So I think we already kind of.
Oh, don't worry, the building isn't that well insulated anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Okay, so let me summarize this to say we have decided as some kind of a process through which a hackathon takes place. One of those hackathons will be suggested to senior SIGMM people to be a healthcare one that they figure out based on this data set. Here's details of the data set. Other people can propose hackathons as well.
No.
Well,
No, no.
topics.
Topics for the hackathon.
So the hackathon is
The
basically
hackathon is one thing,
Okay.
right? It's one
There's
thing.
one hackathon.
Yes.
It is going to be, so this particular hackathon is going to use this particular data set.
What happens if there's a second hackathon?
There's no second hackathon.
What happens if Huawei Dublin come in and say we want to do a hackathon on social media something? Do we go, yes, fine, of course, welcome. Let's do it. Will it be seen that we
Depends on how much money they give you.
Okay.
I would say.
It has never happened before, so we
Yes.
do not need to plan for this event.
Yeah, yeah. But it means basically if they give you enough money, you do many
this is
things, right? But
interesting. I think we could have two models that are also justifiable. So our community, our own community, SIGMM decided to have one hackathon that's based on a real heterogeneous multimedia data and health-based topics. If anybody else would like hackathon, well, you have to fund it somehow through either
Well,
awards and apply so that we can
Yeah,
check whether it
I
fits.
don't see it happening for this year. I guess this may be something for the year after when people see the hackathon
probably.
happening and so
Right.
next year we'd like to
Yeah.
do something else.
Possibly.
I don't care about this topic this year.
Given that this never happened before, I don't expect that people will just
Oh, no.
running in outdoors and say, oh, I want to host another hackathon at your venue.
right.
Because the great success of the hackathon that hasn't happened yet inspired me to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
So I don't think this is something we need to
No.
worry about. And on the off chance that somebody actually comes, then we will figure out what to do.
Yeah, I agree. But there's a single hackathon.
There's a single the
Many topics, one
SIGMM
hackathon.
sponsored hackathon around the data set
Yes,
that is
yes.
being created this very moment.
Yes.
But yes, you're actually on camera, in case you haven't noticed.
But Luca, I have just one request. Because you mentioned also it could be some gaming related topic. Then we
it's
should
more
also
of a
allow that.
motivation-y kind of thing.
So, sorry?
This is more of a motivation-y kind
Motivation,
of thing.
yeah, but
As in-
that's
as
what I
in
told to
make
Matthias
it
also.
playful.
Yeah, but why not? I mean,
Yeah,
people
yeah.
could.
More-
I mean, you could.
I was thinking more of gamification than of actual video games. But if somebody wants to make a video game out of this
Like
somehow,
like
You
a
could
game
you could
changer.
have animated characters from all of us. You have
yeah,
enough data.
sure, if they want to.
Sounds awesome.
The enthusiasm.
No,
Okay,
I mean,
no problem, we
It's,
can-
it's got.
we can discuss
I
this
would
later.
try and set as few constraints.
Make your
yeah,
characters
as possible,
survive
and then just
a workshop.
Let people run with it.
Yeah.
And just essentially set the bounds that this is actually realistic.
Yeah.
But that we think that this has a reasonable chance of succeeding within the parameters we can enable.
Yeah.
But I was just saying that it does not need to be in relation to our data set, right?
No, it should be in.
It
relation.
should be,
Yes.
it should be
Yes.
in relation to the data
Yes.
set.
Okay,
somehow.
Yes.
You can
I
make,
think so.
I guess you can make any gamification approach out of it. Like, for example, trying to. I mean, and this could even be health related, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you find, or you try to mine patterns of incentives for, I don't know, for moving, for drinking less alcohol,
Or-
for whatever, and
or
you
I-
try to make a game out of that.
Yeah.
I guess it should at least be applicable to the data set and demonstrated based on the data
Okay.
set. So
Yes.
even if you have a thing and say I'm gonna do gamified data augmentation that is theoretically
Yeah.
applicable to
Yeah.
any video stream,
A good
then
example.
that is great. That
Yeah.
then it is also applicable to this video stream, and you're supposed to
Yeah.
demonstrate that it is at least among other things
Okay.
applicable to this.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll write an email summarizing all of that. I'll run it by everybody.
I wrote some notes.
Okay,
I think that's
I'll run it by
one
a
of the
few people then,
exercises.
and I will send it to Alan, Alberto, and Ramesh, who were organising that meeting.
Hmm.
So here's
Yeah.
what we came up with.
Yes, and basically, I mean, there was the talk of data augmentation, data visualization or representation, but you could have kind of orthogonal. Say, health would be one of the things.
Yeah. Health is going to be figured out anyway.
Yeah,
We have to
yeah.
do one health, but there's other ones we can.
So
do.
just
Right.
again, now we diverged. First you said that all solutions, all the work has to be health related.
No,
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 No, there must be a health related.
Yeah.
no, it's an option to make health-related
So health
projects.
is one of the topics of interest.
Yes.
It is
We
the
want
thing
to
we're going to suggest.
encourage having one.
Right.
topic.
Encourage
Include-
that
Yes.
this is going to have a health angle. If people really say no, but I really want to do 40 point cloud Gaussian splattering, whatever, then let them do 40 point cloud Gaussian splattering.
Okay, so we
or
get
whatever
back
this is
and
called.
we have a data set and a facilitation
Right.
process to support.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we can incentivize by saying that one of the awards is gonna go to healthcare related topics.
No.
And
No.
the rest,
No, I think
No,
no.
if we go with
Give the
if we
sample.
go with,
because what you do
Okay.
if you just have one healthcare related
Yeah.
topic, then
Yeah.
Give them a award.
If you have a really bad one,
yeah, no,
Give them award. Data
no,
right?
no.
no,
No.
no.
I mean,
like it could be as simple as recipe book.
Isn't this
generation.
millennial
That's-
thing?
that's
Everybody
enough
gets a
for
medal.
healthcare hack.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Let's not do that. Taking part is its own reward.
You're
Yes,
not millennial,
yes, yes.
man. It doesn't concern you.
first of all, of course,
Okay,
of course I am.
can you give me tea, please?
Okay, we have the hackathon. I think that's okay. That's moving it along.
Next in the agenda.
Next in the agenda.
Next in the agenda was the thinking beyond, or trying to apply the learnings and all the discussions back to the things we already have, right? So we've been doing LSC, we've been doing VBS for several years now. We have grown the data sets that are used for these benchmarks, and with the new data sets we also have new variations on type of tasks that we can do. Given such a data set as this, and possibly even whatever may come after this, what directions do we foresee in, or what are consequences for these challenges that we foresee, that new opportunities that would open up, and what would we need to do to make that happen?
I mean, clearly one opportunity I see is, I think we all find question answering tasks very interesting.
Yes.
And having especially these complex and aggregating question answering tasks. And for example, on V3C, this is not really possible because of the diversity of things. You can't ask a question across the entire data set unless you have really watched everything. While here you have a closed world and you have certain constraints to know that something has happened or has not happened, and if it has happened, these are the places to check.
Mhm.
So you could more easily have these kind of question answering queries that need to draw information from various types of the content.
I mean, yes, for specifically for V3C, I could also foresee something that is a variation on a question answering task that essentially says something between question answering and ADS, that you have a find me instances that answer a particular kind of question, as in show me show me examples of, I don't know, complete sequences of preparing food. Right?
Sure,
so this
yeah,
would not
yeah.
be a single clip, but a find me all the instances
sure.
across various things.
No, but I think especially these kind of aggregation, like the how many times did I fly in this year, which airline did I take? So all these things need like a closed set of data. And I think this is enabled by a data set like this one. And I think these are tasks that are fairly close to practical challenges.
Yeah, but I mean, you could also do some data exploration and analytics and say find me all
of course,
people hiking, and then it's not just shots of people hiking, but find me all the actual people. So then you need to cross-reference this, do person identification, things like that, right?
Yeah.
There's another implicit question here, which is, here, up until now, LSC has used a particular type of data and so has VBS. Now we're after going and doing something that's somewhere between both of them. Now we're putting it into ACM Multimedia. Does ACM Multimedia stay the home of this new thing? Or does this new thing also go into LSC and VBS, in which case they're all going to be kind of the same?
Yeah.
What do we want to do as a strategy? Is it that the ACM Multimedia Challenge is the Video Lifelong Challenge, the LSE is the Stop Motion Lifelong Challenge, and VBS is a Large Scale Video Retrieval Challenge? What happens if we kind of blend these things together? What falls? Does LSE or VBS drop aside because now the big one is the one in ACM Multimedia? Or are we happy with that? I don't think we want that necessarily.
I mean, the just logistically, like I think what apart from the effort, I mean, yeah, you can't ask every team to be in everything. As you mentioned, there's already a lot of things going on, and I think I have trouble imagining this event like we have it at MMM and ICMR, where it's a single track thing where the whole conference comes together for this session. I don't see how you scale that to a huge conference like ACM Multimedia.
Yes. And also actually yesterday we discussed that we should not do a real on-site challenge there. So a real on-site competition.
It could still happen in future, right?
Yeah. But
for this one, yes. For the Grand Challenge, no.
But
So is that enough of a separation then? So this is mostly asynchronous then.
Yeah, I mean it could be like a track with like or more track with like thing.
Yeah.
Right.
TrackFit/NTCR.
I mean, we can still do the interactive thing in the. It's going to happen in a workshop slot, and then see what happens, right? So this is. I mean, also VBS and LSE had some years to become established.
Yeah.
I mean, especially VBS is now an integral part of MMM.
Yes.
LSE is technically still a satellite event, technically still a workshop that technically needs to be approved every year, and some year a workshop chair could say no, we're not going to do this, we already did this a bunch of times.
It's possible.
They would probably be getting angry emails from people, but
steering committee, yes. And people on the steering committee, yes.
And general chairs.
General chairs and half people at this table who are on the steering committee, yes. But yeah, ACM. My understanding was ACM were not going to be happy if we had guaranteed accepted papers on ACM proceedings. I know in theory for MMM and yes, we don't. But we kind of do. We have probably never. No, maybe we have.
We have rejected.
We have, but
there have
basically
been very few rejections, but mostly because people misunderstood the assignment or something.
I mean, the rule is basically any reasonably understandable description of a system that can, with some shepherding, be turned into a readable paper.
So maybe
it's accepted,
it's
right?
time to go back to open up that question again for LSE and go. We want this to be an integral part of this conference. That goes back to the.
So you mean to move LSE to ACM Multimedia?
No, I mean for ICMR, move it into.
Okay.
Right, part of the proceedings.
Yeah.
It actually makes a difference, right?
Moving into the main proceeding is just say this is a track.
Yes.
That would be very good, I think.
But that's what I got pushed back on a few years ago, so I can try it again.
And then maybe also integrate the video data set there for the LSE. Because it fits perfectly to it, right? To the VPS it would also fit because it's video type.
Track. But that's the interactive side. Then really that we focus on the asynchronous stuff. And demos just the synchronous.
I mean, it could even the data set could possibly even be used in both things, but for different purposes.
Different tasks. Yeah.
Because the type of tasks in VBS and LSE are technically, as in how they're implemented, very similar. Semantically, they're still quite different.
Yes.
And I mean, to be honest, like if you take, we have a decent share of wedding videos in in the data set. I mean, like a group of people being at a wedding is not so different of us being some days here, right?
But we've never done anything with it explicitly, right? So we don't have the wedding subtask.
But
this is something we could possibly do for whatever comes after V3C.
Right.
If there are some directions to say, well, if we will inevitably run out of V3C, probably within 2 years or so. So then we might anyway need to design something else that has new properties for interesting challenges that we foresee for the future.
Do you see VBS being able to have a track for this data set, where somebody can take part but not take part in the VLC data set, right?
That definitely can fit to VPS because we have so many different types
but,
already.
I mean, how would you split the track?
Yeah, I don't know,
Do
I'm
a
just
separate
thinking.
session and
That's anyway something that is
I don't know, yeah.
increasingly a problem with VBS. We have seen this year, that we had so many different things going on, so many different combinations of data sets and task types, that for every for every single combination there were only very few instances. So the amount of data that we actually have, the amount of results, keeps getting smaller and smaller, and it keeps getting increasingly difficult to draw any conclusions from this.
Right.
So either we cut down on this, or we lean into it. Cutting down would mean we keep the time frame of saying, look, this is a half day actual challenge, so full day event, but there's still some time to everybody getting settled, and then we only have the 6 hours or so to actually do evaluations, and there's only so many tasks, so we need to scope this down. Or we say no, there's going to be tracks. People can sign up for tracks, and then this might be a 2-day thing that runs even possibly in parallel to some of more of the main conference, because it just needs more time. And then we say explicitly, okay, this type of thing is on first day in the morning, this type of thing is on first day in the afternoon, and then people can decide, do they want to do all of it, do they want to do some of it, but then it becomes more.
And to be honest, even having longer expert sessions in the past years has always been logistic trouble.
Yeah.
With conference starting on Monday, not being able to gather rooms on Sunday,
Right.
so I find it quite difficult.
I mean, I think an alternative version would be to kind of keep the V3C collection as the main collection, and then work with 1 or 2 satellite collections which could rotate, right?
Yeah.
Because now there's the question of how much more do we learn now from, for example, the medical collection. We know it's extremely hard. Do we need to, or is this now the new side collection that we would go with?
Yeah. So I
That
personally
would
would even prefer using only V3C at VPS in the future, but for question answering tasks, and removing the medical data set maybe again, and removing also the MVK again.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is a good direction to plan the next generation of challenge data set.
Right.
Because I mean, V3C was primarily designed for TrackVid. So I had quite some discussions with the people behind TrackVid, specifically the ADS track at TrackVid, to see, okay, what is it they would want and need from this. And then it was mostly, oh, we have this new thing, we might as well use it for VBS as well. Given that a new one is coming up within the foreseeable future anyway, we could do some explicit scoping of the requirements and then see what we would need to design for the foreseeable future of properties we already know. And probably by the time we're through with it, it's going to be obsolete anyway, because there's going to be new questions that require new types of data.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. And in addition, I think if we have one data set only for VPS, it would definitely simplify everything, or even the barrier to go into the competition for new teams.
It could be just restricting task types. So as you say, maybe keeping
QA.
one for QA, and then maybe having visual non-item search still for specific types of data, right?
Or maybe for LSC. I mean.
So for me, LSE is a lifelog search challenge.
And it should remain.
Yes, it should remain a lifelog search challenge. It's in the name.
You have to keep them separate, right?
Yeah,
What we're
yeah,
doing in
yeah.
this
It-
conversation
yes.
is saying
Absolutely.
there's a
And
there's
it
an LSE
and that one also has a lower barrier to entry,
and there's a PO.
even than the video browser stuff.
For
Yes.
me, LSC's lifelog search challenge.
Yes, it is.
But the
It is.
question is, if we would search in videos there, like these videos.
No, this is not a lifelog.
That blurs
I don't know.
the difference between
Yes.
LSE and VBS.
This is not a lifelog.
No, because semantically,
Like this is a POV challenge.
No, because I guess, and I don't want to.
But you're going to.
Go too much into the philosophical discussion of what a lifelog is, but so far the lifelog, the notion of what a lifelog is has been dictated by what type of data was possible to collect and what type of data was possible to be made available for this sort of thing, given the technology that existed at the time of the recording of this lifelog. Right? Because this is also a type of lifelog.
Yes.
It's just something that
it's merging of the two somehow.
But his stream would be his lifelog. Mine stream is my lifelog.
Yes,
I don't think stationary cameras.
No, stationary.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, but yeah.
There could be such a thing as a multi-perspective lifelog. If
Fair
you
enough.
say, look,
Yes.
person one has a lot of stationary cameras in their house and spends a lot of time in their house, and person two spends a lot of time abroad or all over the place and is having a wearable camera, and person three does not have a camera at all, but essentially narrates their audio log and takes a bunch of pictures. All of these things could be
a
different
lifelog. Yes.
forms of lifelogs.
Yeah, this is
Right.
This is
true.
Community lifelog, more group lifelog.
It's still different to what the LSC up until now has done. Right?
Yes,
It's been a single person lifelog,
yes,
let's say.
but
Yes, yes.
Is it because this is precisely the challenge that is the best challenge there could be, or is it because this is the task that could be reasonably made available and therefore the best feasible task that could actually be implemented? As in, if there was instrumentation to record many more things, would we want that, or do we say no, we want explicitly image sequence thing because for some reason this particular thing is the
For
most
the
interesting?
LSC challenge, we still do have more multimodal data than anybody actually uses.
Right.
So it's still there. You can still use the heart rates and all those things if you want to use it. Just
I mean, so far there have been very few questions, very few tasks where it would actually be useful.
Yes.
So it's a bit of a chicken and egg
Yes.
thing, right?
Yes.
nobody's processing it.
Yes.
Yeah, so I would recommend for LSC that we only keep the image-based data set because the entry barrier is much lower for new teams.
For as long as that seems sensible, right?
Yeah. And maybe at ACM Multimedia, we use this video-based data set for this asynchronous competition, kind of, which not on-site live competition.
At least for the next year or two. And VBS still uses VLC.
Yes.
And
V3C.
V3C.
Yeah.
VLC is something else.
Yeah,
It's probably also used.
but that still
Whenever
manages
you
to
open
keep,
that video.
Yes.
it manages to keep the separation
you're-
between the three different
Pardon me.
things. Right?
I think you're high.
That's
Hi.
important. Unless
So we
we
have
just,
to.
if we move LSC to use this data set,
Is it
then
better?
LSC
Yeah, I think so.
becomes that multimedia
yeah.
thing
Yeah.
at MM.
Better.
How good?
Yes.
You,
Who-
there's danger for VBS as well. If you
Yeah.
come into this data set that, it's it. Why are you doing it twice? Just do it once.
So let's keep their focus.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we have the focus kept on the data sets, and in 2 years' time or 18 months' time at Castle 2, we go back and say, well, how successful is this POV thing been?
Yes, but I mean, independently of that, there might I still foresee a future where several years down the line, LSC might have a very different type of data set.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I'd love that.
At
Yes.
that point, there might be wearable cameras that essentially do this type of data, but they're small enough that you can clip it to a shirt and wear it all the time.
The first ever lifelong challenge we did at NTCIR was from 3 people for a month each. Right?
Right.
We actually did start off with more people, but just it became more of a headache to keep that going.
Right.
It became 2 people, it became 1 person. So
So
Is that recording the whole time?
Turn off your camera.
yeah.
So there will be lunch ready in about 10 minutes.
Oh, good. I'm so hungry.
Yeah.
Can I just write up something? Can I try to summarize what I heard?
Yeah.
We don't need to.
LSC,
No.
PBS, and ACMMM,
We
Grand Challenge.
should stand a few minutes after taking out of the
should be
oven.
doing,
Yes.
half an hour or so.
No,
Unique
no,
signatures?
5. No, just 5.
Uh,
Just 5
VBS
minutes.
is VBS. Let's put it. So let's say with LSC, which is kind of smallest in scope. LSC should be focused on personal love for data. There should be a task that's visual only to provide, I would say, a low threshold for participation. But nobody prevents people from using also the other data such as geocoordinates and
No,
so on and so on.
and I mean, I think it would be interesting to have tasks that actually would benefit from that. To
At
put
least
pressure on
think
people
a few,
integrating more and more
like
data.
Yeah. On the other hand, I mean, I guess we're deliberately sometimes avoiding tasks that are easy to solve with geolocation or things like that.
Yeah, but I'm saying, you know, elevate heart rate or elevation or something like this.
Those
So,
things, yes, but-
more rare.
I mean, especially for AV for ad hoc kind of queries, it might also be interesting to do more of a when did I exert myself on the weekend?
Yeah.
Right.
Kind of things.
Yes.
Which you don't necessarily get from the images.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Things like this. So
Where do I like to
essentially-
party?
So essentially, there's an aim towards more semantic distinction of the different events.
So see.
A little bit of smell. You check the oven
Yeah, I checked it. It looks
recently?
good. It looks good.
Okay.
Just a few minutes ago.
Okay.
Hey, but with these ovens, I have to tell you, it looks like nothing is happening, and then all of a sudden.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. No,
But also from a
like one is bubbling, the other seems not. The lower one is. They might not be ready at the same
for
time.
design variations. So the motivation behind instant search, known item search, the way I always understood it was I've seen this thing before somewhere at the point in time where I didn't have the chance to actually note anything down or take a picture or anything, and now I want to find it again. And we're trying to simulate this process where you need to inject this memory somehow.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I mean, we're trying to do some experiments how well this memory injection thing actually represents what we're doing. But we haven't seen a lot of variation on how this is done. So I would actually really propose to say, okay, why don't we have this more conversational style, for example, and say, okay, there's volunteers that are being shown the clips.
Yeah.
And then we can see, do they have access to the clip, or are they shown the clip beforehand and then they actually have to remember.
Yeah.
And then they're just there and say, okay, I'm going to describe this to you and you can shout questions at me. And then maybe we need to have a not everybody shouting at once kind of mechanism. But this would essentially be a new variant of KISS, which is less predictable, but is inherently more interactive because it is actually back and forth between an intelligent agent, as in a person describing what they remember, and all the people searching for it.
So we should also probably consider that now, and that you have an IR, maybe that's like for them, people are increasingly kind of playing with LLM taking that role. So instead of having these volunteers, you could actually take a very large model, show it the content alongside the ground truth, and actually make it act as some sort of oracle.
Well, you don't need the content alongside the ground. I mean, if you describe a ground truth, I think that there's two things here. One thing is you show it the content, but then you rely on the capabilities of that model doing the visual interpretation, which is a bit dangerous, I think. What I could imagine is you try to write it down and then you purely rely on the text of looking up things in that particular text, for which I think the LLM would be much more reliable.
But I'm not saying there is one way to do that, because people are playing, hey, what can they do actually?
Given that this is going to be a one-shot interactive thing anyway, I'm much more inclined to actually have a person there.
Yeah, I mean, why not have a person and have an LLM in parallel, just to benchmark that one?
Yes, well, we can also do that.
That could be interesting papers later.
But to have the, I'm gonna ask you something strange because this is how my system happens to work, and the LLM may or may not have ever thought of that.
Yeah.
But also this is then a thing of the person. And say, oh well, let me think. Maybe I remember, or maybe I don't. Right?
Exactly.
I mean, we had this thing, for example. So, well, if I know that my OCR is very good, then I'm going to pay attention to any little piece of text that's on the screen, even though you probably would never have paid attention to this if you just had seen it in the wild. Whereas probably if you actually just show it to a person without priming them to, oh yeah, by the way, I have a very good OCR, they're just not going to know.
Yeah, exactly.
Or maybe they do, or maybe they misremember. But then you have the actual...
So you know who would know it? If you provide your paper, like let's say VBS submission to a large model, it could pick up what the components are, probably even better than...
No, but the large model does either know or it doesn't, right? So it's not going to pay attention differently based on the papers you prime it. It either has the visual capabilities of extracting this information or it doesn't. And probably something OCR-y is way lower in the semantic hierarchy, so it will have a much easier job of saying, was there any text on the screen? It says, yes, there's all the text I remember seeing on the screen.
And
whereas was this shot in Southern Europe? And so, well, how would I know, right?
I mean, and there's really, I mean, we had a summer intern working on video to text this summer, and exactly this point that you mentioned of named places. This is something where we compare different models, and they differ a lot. Some never fix any location, others always give you a location. Sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong. So these things you really see, like, did they have some geo-reference data in the training, or how much of that did they have? But I mean, I like this idea, and I think I like it also because it highlights the importance of doing that in the interactive session. This is not something you can do asynchronously. Whether you do it with people or with models, the answers will never be the same. So you have to do that in the interactive challenge.
So it would be reasonably easy to implement. The only thing that we would need to make sure is that there is some sort of audio-video recording of the event, so we actually have a record of this dialogue that happened. Because otherwise you just put the same thing into Trace and just as a hint you leave it empty. And you have a person there who's instructed to answer these questions, and the system still will know what the ground truth is and will judge accordingly.
I guess a question is also like how to design it. Maybe it could be like a panel of people there who do this answering, just to balance memory capabilities of people. Some people being better at visual things, some people better at conceptual things. So maybe having like a panel of 3 people there, and together they answer, and they also have to agree what they answer.
But what is the practical scenario and practical, let's say, research questions?
Something like this is much closer to the scenario of you having the memory and needing to investigate a system, or even imagine way back when we had archivists for this sort of thing, that would be the only ones having access to the collection. You walking up to the archivist and say, look, I need this type of footage from way back when, I know I've seen it, and then it's okay, let me help you try to find it. What was it about? Where did
And what you do is you equalize conditions, because we had these cases where we thought about showing people video clips before and then have their memory let it find it.
Right.
But then it depends on the memory capabilities, visual memory capabilities of the individual participant.
Right.
Here you level this for all. You have the same visual memory for all.
What we could even do is have give the person some visualizer thing or so
Yeah.
they can draw things on,
Yeah.
or on a whiteboard on a flip chart
Yeah.
and say, oh yeah, it was sort of like this, and there was
Right.
this person over
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
There were because we also have the differences, especially when for the textual tasks. There's on the one hand the cultural and the knowledge context.
Yeah.
So if you say a particular thing, it invokes a different image in my
Yeah.
mind than it might invoke in somebody else's. There's also different levels of how visual people are actually thinking. So how much of an image this actually invokes, and probably all of this somehow feeds into the process, and it's very hard to quantify how and to what degree.
Right.
And we've so far never even attempted this, because it is, how would you even design this?
Mm.
But if you have another person serving as a proxy for this, it at least moves the variability from all the participants to that one person to at least some degree.
Yeah, but then I mean, you're talking about less time pressure to solve this kind of task.
Not necessarily.
No.
I mean, we would probably give it a bit more time, because just the dialogue part
Right,
takes a bit
yeah.
of time,
Yeah.
and not everybody can shout questions at the same time.
Right.
But we still see many tasks are solved way ahead of the time limit, so it might get us a more spread field and closer to the
Fair enough.
time limit.
Fair enough.
We could just set the maximum time higher, and,
Yeah.
and if we're done, we're done.
Right.
Yeah, I'd probably increase the maximum time just to be sure,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
see how much
Right.
we actually need.
I mean,
Right.
we've
Yeah,
talked
fair
about
enough,
this
yes.
a few things. Like, ideally, you would have infinite working time until the
Mhm.
last team submitted, because then you really
Yeah.
know a more
Yeah.
precise ranking.
No,
But
yeah,
for practical
but-
reasons, we cut off
But
some.
you can. I mean, the point is that if there's too much time pressure, people would not do. They would not be as much inclined to use this. aspect of
that's
this.
True. That's true. Yeah, I mean that's what we also.
So that would be my worry. Basically, is this that if everybody's here,
yeah,
you know.
You're right. I mean,
Yeah.
I had the experience that I was trying to give hints during
Yes.
the competition, and nobody realized it
Right.
because they were.
They were too busy with their own thing, right? Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Or you could say that you know, we don't accept answers until after a certain time. So you have a free
That could also
4 minutes.
Yeah.
If you're ready by then, yes, you're one of the
Well, I
quickest,
mean,
right?
You can accept the answers, but you're just not gonna tell people
Right.
if the.
Yeah.
If they're
it's
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, but then that would guide your questions, right? So
Yeah, but I mean, people are just gonna shut up once they're.
yeah,
Once
they
they're
think
done.
they have it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then,
But
I mean,
maybe-
even if the system,
Yeah.
I mean, Trace is just gonna give you a green thing or a red thing,
Yeah.
but it's not gonna tell you what it was.
Yeah.
So unless you explicitly wanted to, but in this case we wouldn't. And then you say, oh yeah, team whatever found it based on the answer to that question that you all also heard.
Yeah.
So it's the same information available to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Somehow, I cannot kind of get rid of the thought that this is already conversation that we have, because what happens on the spot, you know, people are asking and there is a piece of information being revealed, you know, like, and sometimes you guys are also giving some hints, you know, like.
But I have no control over what that information
Yeah,
is. Whereas if you came to me and wanted me to find something for you, I would ask you
Yeah.
the things that I would need to know
Right.
to close the gap between
Yes.
what I have and what
Yeah.
you want. Whereas if I say, okay, now I really need to know if it's a landscape or a portrait, and then the next thing you say, oh yeah, by the way, there's a tree in the background.
Right. Yeah.
So can't we
But-
make it like this? So then this is good what you say. So teams are working on, you know, conversational, let's say, search task, and then after maybe a minute or two, we allow them, or maybe immediately, kind of once or twice during that time period, to answer some questions. And you know,
Right.
there are gonna be some questions there popping up from different teams. They can ask maybe one question each,
Mm-hmm.
You're not happy about it?
No. Go ahead.
Then it gets a game theory aspect because the questions are answered all at the same time. There's a time limit. The answer to the questions are going to be available to everybody. So then you will, since you want to win this, you will try and ask questions that help you most while revealing as little useful information to everybody else. If you can do that. So the questions are going to be very narrow to the capabilities of your thing.
Yes.
Which may or may not be a good representation of.
But can I jump in? Because I think like this conversational aspect. I think when we're making tasks, you know, there's kind of an implicit conversation in mind, right? What are the questions that might be asked, and in which order do I want to answer them, right? Exactly. So one option that is in between would be that teams are allowed to submit questions, but basically on the spot, and they're anonymized, so you don't know which team is asking which question. On the spot, you create the next step, right? Or you might have multiple different alternatives for the next step. I now decide what's going to be the next thing that I give out that may or may not answer your question or your question, right?
So what we could do is, rather than everybody shouting their questions, we could use one of these audience participation tools where people can submit and vote on questions.
Right.
But then it again has the interaction burden that I actually need to type in my question. I need to look at all the questions that are already there.
Well, no. You would type in your question. You don't know any other questions.
So without revealing,
and you get some more hints.
SIGIR. We are now working on a paper for SIGIR, so please don't use this idea. But I think many other people use the same. So there is this interesting aspect of diffing, you know, like you have one set, you have another set, and okay, that one I kind of tell you. So just translating it without going into that one, it's not related to this story. When you get those results, basically you would like to know how far is it from the ground truth. And the ground truth is sort of this mental image of what you just described. That's like information need. And Oracle, meaning you and a system, knows that Oracle beforehand because we probably answered it. So now there are these tools, and they're getting increasingly good, you know, like in diffing, kind of asking, hey, what is there and not in this set, or from this set, which one's got. So maybe people could, just as a help, they don't have to use it, without asking question, they select some examples, like, and submit them there to you, and somewhere mid or few times during that process, they get automatic feedback.
So whenever it is wrong, they get information about what is different.
Why is it wrong?
Yes, this is a very interesting approach.
But you could do that also with a human there. I mean, you don't have to automate it.
It's very heavy, you know, like meaning.
No, you would have to limit it. I mean, you don't want someone to select their one best 1,000 images and tell me what's different, right?
Yeah, no.
I guess you can guide that and say you can select, send one image per minute or so.
No, you could even do this and say no. The submission process and the scoring process is exactly the same. But rather than just getting the feedback, your submission was correct, your submission was not correct. Every time it was not correct, you're also getting more information back, because this is also more what would happen if you were to talk to the archivist and say, is it this? And they say, no, it's similar, but it's then, not like.
Yeah, but then.
And these are the attributes that it misses.
Yes.
Yeah, but the difficult thing is then you're giving information to one team. You don't give it the same information to everyone.
Because they submitted certain thing. Everybody else.
These are two independent things. Both of them are very interesting. I would kind of want to try both. One of them is much more easy to implement than the other. Because
it's just different test type, right?
Different thing would actually need to be built, whereas the other is really just it needs a volunteer and they need to be shown some clips. But this is a very interesting idea.
So you know what's the problem with volunteer? I can tell you that. So I didn't have it with technology students, like never ever. But now in some tracks I have social sciences students. And I think they are also wired a little bit differently, so they perceive everything as a bit of negotiation, conversation, or maybe it kind of just changed, you know. So whenever I make an exam, there's going to be a few of them, you know, like that start, First,
Oh, we already
I think you
done.
have an error in
Oh,
your
just
exam.
found it out.
And I'm like, no, I checked in a notebook, there is no error there, it's code, it's very simple to check. Aha, are you sure about it? I'm like, yeah, I'm totally sure. And then it starts, yeah, but I don't get it, why is it not this one? And you know, it starts a really big conversation and you wanna kind of remove any unclarity that's potentially there.
Yeah,
But then
I
you're always
don't
afraid
think this
how
is an
much
issue
did you
that-
reveal,
Yes,
you know, like, because
I-
to that person you almost solved the question and started like, you could say, I don't want to do it at all, or
Right.
I get what you're saying, but this is probably much more of a problem in reality than it would be at such a benchmark, because you can more clearly instruct the. I mean, it's not really going to be a volunteer.
Generally speaking, you have smarter people too, so it's.
You have people more in tune with the spirit of the task.
Yeah, fair enough. That is one way to put it.
Up
Yes.
something about it, about diffing or not.
I think this is a great thing, and
Yeah.
we should try to have this implemented in 26.
Yes.
Because that would also require some actual technical work to be done, whereas the other thing is really some
So you know
organizational work.
what? By that time, if it's 26, we are already solving some of these things with Hongi, like diffing, also negative, or what if everything is relevant. So that's particular one that interests Vangelos a lot, because in most cases, when you start talking about these conversations, all things are irrelevant.
Yeah.
And you basically have to kind of somehow deal. It's none of this. It's none
Yeah.
of this. It's none of this.
Right.
So do you talk to a team
I mean, it's
that submitted
also-
something that's.
I mean, it's also doing this for video is probably the thank you.
I
I have to go to. Yeah, yeah.
Is the most difficult modality of